If every man on this planet knew exactly how to meet, how to attract, how to seduce, how to build a deep connection with women, then the world will be a better place. Why? Because the opposite would be a world full of lonely, depressed men, and because the consequences will be disastrous, we need more pickup artists in this world. So listen closely. So you probably read the title, right? Now, while this title meant to be slightly clickbait, slightly just to grab your attention, the premise of the title still holds. That if men were to improve in their relationships, were to improve in how they meet women, how they date women, if they were to improve in that area, then it would make a better society. Yes, I understand that PUA has its problems, has its downfalls. There are certain issues with PUA that need to be addressed, that don't need to be ignored, but that doesn't mean that that PUA in itself is an inherently morally negative and practically negative thing. Some women think that they're being assaulted by pickup artists, and while I understand that harassment and assault is a genuine problem in society, yes, men do harass women, and I'm not denying this fact. I'm just saying that, yes, I understand the issue that men do harass women, and this is not an issue to ignore. But what I'm saying is that there is a better solution than shaming pickup artists to resolve the issue of harassment and all of the issues of society linked to dating. So I want to preface this video first by saying that you have been lied to. You have been lied to by the media. You've been lied to by YouTube videos, by YouTubers about what pickup artists are. Everything you've seen in the media, or on television maybe, or on CNN, or on certain YouTube platforms, for example, PewDiePie, who recently made a reaction video to pickup artists, those are all lies. The reason is because on the media, what you see is they only want you to see what they want you to see. YouTubers only want you to see what they want you to see. What they'll do is do selective editing on so many of the PUA videos. They'll take the worst parts and then they'll criticize it. Or they'll take the most cringe-worthy parts and they will criticize it and make fun of it and criticize it. And what that does is that it creates an echo chamber of people who will watch this video, then believe that everything that they're seeing is true. Everyone leaves the comments about it, and then it just feeds the echo chamber that more people that believe it, more people tend to believe that it is true. And the flawed assumption to make is that because everyone believes this video to be true, then it must be true. But that's not exactly the case. You have been lied to, because all that you see in these videos is the vocal minority or the flagrant minority that stands out from the rest on these videos, while the quiet majority stands in the background. The quiet majority of pickup artists are actually just lonely guys who want to learn how to meet women, potentially to have a girlfriend. The lonely guys who just have no clue, that always lack confidence, that were bullied in high school. The quiet majority that just want a woman in their life. They just want companionship. They want love. And you will never hear of these guys on the media. Why? Because they are quiet. They don't stand out from the rest. They are hiding in the shadows. They are never heard, and nobody hears of them. All you hear in the media is of the vocal, flagrant minority that just stands out. The weirdos, the creeps. This is what you will see on the media, not the majority. So I've made a video in the past on the why I quit PUA, why I quit game and seduction, and you can watch it. I'll put a link in the description. And this is a follow-up to this video. While I've talked about all the negatives of the pickup artist industry, now in this video I want to talk about some of the positives and what are certain positive impacts that pickup artistry could have on society if it were to become more perhaps accepted, possibly institutionalized in centuries or millennials, if that ever happens. And since it's going to be an incredibly long and in-depth video, I'm going to put timestamps that you can see here. I'll put it at the beginning somewhere in the video. Also, I'll put in the description, I'll put all the timestamps, so you can just jump around in the video. If you don't feel like watching the whole video, that's totally fine. Jump around and look at which part of the video you want to see or which topics interest you the most. The goal of this video is for people to have a more holistic understanding of pickup artistry, of PUAs, to be able to understand the different paradigms and different worldviews that surround pickup artists, and how you can do pickup artistry from a good place, where you can do it from a morally good place, and to sort of demystify and to remove the taboo of society that society has around dating, sex, relationships, and all of these things. The goal of this video is also to look at the positive and negative aspects of PUAs, its societal impact, what kind of impact does it have on society, to deconstruct really the myth of shaming and like the certain issues related with shaming, and what solutions do I propose other than shaming PUAs, what will be the appropriate answer. And also at the end, I'm going to talk to you, there's going to be a part 2 of this video where I talk to you about how to actually learn PUA from the right place, from a moral and ethical place that you can learn, so that you hurt the least amount of people possible, and that you learn it from the right place. And also I'm going to look into certain issues as to whether PUA is actually a scam, does it actually work. And so if you're a guy who is thinking about starting PUA, or you're already a PUA and you're not exactly sure if you want to stay in that community or if you should leave it, that's the perfect video for you as well, because you're going to be learning near the end all of these things. So who is this video for? This video is primarily for men, primarily men who are, maybe feel shame about the idea of doing pickup, or they feel like they're being judged by society, or they feel unsure as to whether they should join the community or not. This is the perfect video for you, because then you'll know exactly everything you need to know about PUA there. This video is also for women. Women, because women are those who understand pickup the least. And this is why women tend to judge PUAs or pickup artists, because it's hard to have empathy for something that you don't fundamentally understand or can empathize with at all. Right? And because of this disconnect, the point of this video is that we can resolve this disconnect so that eventually you have a better understanding as to why men do these things, why men go out to meet women, why men learn all these tricks and tactics as to how to get women. This video is for feminists, social justice warriors, or anyone who disagrees with PUAs, so that I can expand your view, maybe help you become a bit more open-minded to the idea that PUA is not what you think it is. PUA can have positive consequences in a man's psyche, in his development, and you can start looking at the sort of good things about it. Also for the people who subscribe to the black pill, for example, all of the incels. You guys tend to disagree the most with PUAs and tend to even harbor resentment towards PUAs. This is also a video for you, because then you'll understand really what the holistic approach to PUA, how that could become something positive, possibly. If it's not for you, at least for other guys who are trying to better themselves. Now, a quick disclaimer before we jump into the content. I am personally biased because I was part of the PUA community for many years before I started doing self-help videos and all that. I was in the PUA community, and also because I'm coming from someone in the inside, right? I'm an insider of the PUA community. I might be biased towards PUAs, naturally. And while this can have certain advantages, this also has certain disadvantages, because I'm going to be maybe overly defending PUA in some way. So I just want you to be wary of that. And this is not an exact science. This video is not like an academic essay or anything like that. This video is just a result of my own personal observations in the PUA community and its impact on society, along with my basic fundamental understanding in developmental psychology, which is really basic, and my 12 plus years of experience in personal development. And of all the people I've coached, the dozens of people I've coached throughout the years, this is sort of the culmination of all my knowledge here. So take it with a grain of salt, and I'm going to leave you with this. Do not trust a man with a mask. Only trust a man who tells the truth. And this is my truth. Now, I want to start this video off by addressing the main issue that we'll raise, which is the issue of shaming and judgment. And what I want to tell you is that shaming and judgment is not the answer. If you shame PUAs, if you shame them and you tell them what they're doing is wrong, this is not going to help society. Now, why is that? The reason why this is not going to do anything is because shaming will only lead to repression. If you shame men for trying to approach women or trying to seduce women or trying to get better with women, they're only going to feel worse about themselves. The more ashamed that will feel, the worse that they will feel about themselves, and the more it'll be pushed down in the shadows. And what is pushed down in the shadows in an unhealthy way will eventually have to come out. So the more you try to repress these guys to stop approaching women, stop talking to women, stop trying to date, the more they will have to come back and try it again. And they will do it again, not from a healthy, loving place, but from a resentful place because society hates them. Because they were hated, they only return this hate back. And of course, because they go back into the world and approach women, they get shamed again by society by doing it. They feel worse about themselves, and to feel better about themselves, they have to come back and do it again. Which fuels the phenomena that is called beta male shaming. Beta male shaming, basically, which is a function of what women, some women do, not all women, that society and some women do, that they will shame the guys who are basically not their type, or shame ugly guys for trying to approach them because, hey, they only want to be approached by attractive alpha men. The same thing that a better guy, a less attractive guy, will do to a woman that will be creepy, if an alpha guy were to do that exact same thing, it would be totally fine, it would not be creepy, it would not be wrong. But because the unattractive guy tried to approach you that way and say that thing to you, you will reject it. You will reject it, and you will say that this is bad, this is wrong, this is creepy. Now that only exacerbates the law of natural selection, where all the ugly guys are just pushed down and put into the shadows. And that only breeds more resentment. And just look at society this way. The famous rappers that just sing and rap about fucking a bunch of hoes and just making girls cheat on their boyfriend, and you've heard it all, right? You've heard all these rap songs about cheating, fucking a bunch of hoes, and just getting blowjobs left and right in a dark corner. And you, as a woman that goes to the club, I listen to this song, you're gonna sing along to this song. It's not a problem, right? Guys too, we sing to this song, everyone. It's totally accepted that the alpha guy, the famous guy who raps about all of this nasty stuff, and it's totally fine. And now we're going to complain when the average Joe goes talk to a girl and confess his feelings, or say that he just wants to say that he's cute, that she's cute, whatever, just wants to approach her, and he's shamed for it. I'm sorry, but that's just totally unacceptable. And for those of you guys who are suffering, who are being shamed by society for doing what you do, my advice to you is fuck society. Fuck what everyone else says. You deserve love, attention, affection, sex, and dating as much as everyone else. Your needs matter. And it's not because society says that what you're doing is wrong, that it is wrong. You listen to what is most essential to you, what is most meaningful to you. And the only way I believe that the shaming will end, if society doesn't decide to stop the shaming, because, society is such at a low level that they will continue this sort of shaming. The only way that this will end is for you better guys, for you average Joes, to rise up to the alpha level, to become alpha. So until this point, until you reach this inflection point in your journey, you're going to be shamed. You're going to be made fun of by women and society. And you will have to push through until you meet that inflection point. And once you become alpha, no one is going to complain. I used to go to music festivals with a GoPro on my head, and because I'm fucking alpha, no one gives a shit. I make videos about it, I post it online, and because I'm the alpha dude, because I have some of my some women in the audience who subscribe to my channel, watch my videos, and they're not shaming me for my PUA stuff. They don't even mention it. They don't even say this is bad. Yes, they don't watch my PUA stuff, but they're not gonna disagree with me. Why? Because I'm the fucking alpha. And when you're the alpha, no one tells you what to do. They listen to your advice. Now, do you want to become alpha? Because once you're alpha, nobody is going to stop you. Because once you're an alpha, the only people who will criticize you are the people below. And the thing with PUA is that PUA is, the way I describe it and how it's become in society, is that PUA basically is the repressed shadow of society. Is the result of shaming and, basically putting sex into the shadows. Because society has no infrastructures in place to help men in that area, men are left to fend for themselves. Men are left trying to find ways to become better with women because society will not help them get better with women. So from this reality, PUA was created. PUA was created basically sort of like almost like a black market sort of equivalent of dealing drugs basically because there was nowhere else to go, so men had to invent their own tricks, invent their own ways of meeting women. They had to do something about it. And if dating were to be more talked about in society, less taboo, less of an issue, right? Then PUA would be something more acceptable, more understanding. We'd understand it more, but that's not the case at all. So let's dive into what PUA is. More clarification we have, the better it'll be. So pickup artistry. What is PUA? PUA stands for pickup artist, which also refers to the act of picking up women, seducing women, meeting women, and dating women. PUA is the act of men becoming better with their social skills so that they can meet more women and attract more women. And not only in the quantity, but also in the quality of women and the quality of relationships that they will form by going through the process of learning PUA. PUA is the process of men working on themselves to become more attractive. PUA includes styling, grooming, working on yourself, going to the gym, working out. Those are all aspects of PUA. Working on your posture, so you stand more healthily, more tall, more attractive, becoming more confident in your body language in the way that you walk through the world. PUA is also learning social skills, charisma, right? Becoming a more charismatic person. PUA is also about storytelling, learning how to become a more engaging person at the party, a more fun person at the party. PUA is also the act of taking charge of your life. So in PUA, you learn that you learn to really deal with problems as they arise. When you're, let's say, in a dating scenario, there's a certain problem that arises in the relationship. You will learn active problem-solving skills. Therefore, in PUA, you learn leadership. You learn to become a leader. You learn how to lead women. You also learn how to lead other men, because at the end of the day, if you want to be a more attractive man, you have to become a leader of men. Would you say that what I've just said, is that something that you don't want in a man? I think you'd be insane to say that those are things that you don't want, because clearly every woman wants a man that is more confident, more attractive, more charismatic, better at social skills, more of a leader. Every woman wants that. And if you say that you don't want that, then you are lying. Now, I want to do an important distinction here, because I've talked about PUA, and for many people, PUA means like, the creepy shit with like manipulation that you do to get in the pants of women and sleep with as many girls as you want. And now I'm explaining you PUA as this good thing of developing yourself. How does that make any sense? Well, there is a distinction to be made with old school PUA and the new age modern PUA. So let's talk about the old school PUA. The old school PUA is circa early 2000s to late 2000s. This is mostly the when it was developed is the stage of PUA where they taught you certain lines, certain routines that they call it, certain stories, and even they would teach you certain like deceptive tricks, like lying about, your social status and all that. And also in the old school PUA, they teach you about this concept called peacocking, where you dress really flagrantly, very weird, so that you attract attention and women talk to you. That's the gist of the old school PUA. We're not gonna go super in depth here, right? So that's the gist of it. And there's also the new school PUA, which is what I'm gonna talk to you about. And this is really the thing that I refer to in this video, is the new school modern age PUA. Starting from the sort of mid 2010s and later, right, sort of up to now, there's this new brand of PUA that really isn't talked about much in the media because it's not really understood and it doesn't stand out because it is the quiet majority, as I've explained in the past. And what modern age PUA is basically natural game, that we call it. It's seduction based on authenticity, on being truly yourself, on putting yourself out there, really working on the fundamentals of becoming more confident, more attractive as a person. All of the things that I described to you previously of what PUA is, this fits into the modern PUA paradigm. And it's coming from a place of more abundance, where you're doing PUA really to sort of try to make her day better. And while, yes, arguably it's not really true in practice all the time, this is at least the aim that we try to aim for, is to leave her better than when you started. So why should you learn modern day PUA? First of all, the reason why is because it will really help with your self-esteem and confidence. And honestly, if it wasn't for PUA, I wouldn't be here shooting those videos. I wouldn't have the confidence to put myself out there, express myself. And most men between the age 18 to 25, they sort of, or even older, they waste their youth just sort of, partying mindlessly, drinking alcohol, getting drunk, and messing up their prefrontal cortex with all that alcohol that they put in their system. And when you learn PUA, the modern age PUA, what you learn is that you go out there with the sort of intention of improving a specific skill. You go out with the intention of pushing your comfort zone, becoming more social, and do that in a natural, authentic way. And that is such a much better use of your time. The second reason to learn PUA, as in the modern age type of PUA, is that you will develop abundance in your life. Abundance, which is basically the state that you reach when whatever happens in your life, that you'll be able to meet people, make new friends, meet women, date women, and no matter what happens, you will never be alone again. And you can reach a state where you have this certain confidence in your life, and because of the epidemic of loneliness, if everyone feels lonely now because of social media, because of social distancing now, or whatever, it's not as bad now, but whatever. But so because of all of these things, loneliness is rampant, and the suicide rates in first world countries is going up because of the isolation, because of the loneliness, and depression is on the rise. Now, what if I told you that learning PUA could help you and help society with the issue of loneliness, the epidemic of loneliness? The third reason why you should learn PUA is because once you meet your basic level needs, like needing love, affection, and sex, then you can transcend these needs and move towards more important and more meaningful things. If you want to put it more simply, you do PUA to get that phase out of the way. I have some of my female friends, for example, that were friends in high school, and we spoke when we spoke a while ago. They said that, now I'm in a relationship because I'm done with dating, I'm done with meeting guys, I want to get serious now. And how did she get to that point, that friend? Well, she had to date, she had to meet different guys and know what kind of guys she like or doesn't like. And it's the same for guys. To know exactly which woman you want in your life, you have to first know what kind of woman you don't want, what kind of woman you don't relate with. And the only way to know is to meet women, You go on certain dates, you meet certain women, and through your experience, you will know exactly what you want and don't want. Which leads me to my next point, that if you learn PUA, that could help to avoid divorce in the future. Now that may sound incredibly strange and incredibly sort of far-fetched, that, oh, what, learning to be a pickup artist so you get less divorce, that's stupid. Well, if you look holistically and you look at the chain of cause and effect, right, what caused the divorce isn't actually that you were a player or learned PUA. What caused the divorce is that you didn't know what was right for you or right for the woman that you married. You didn't know what you wanted. You didn't know how to spot the red flags of a person that's not compatible with you. Really, the cause of divorce, in my opinion, is that people don't know themselves. They don't know what they want, and also they don't know how to spot someone that's not compatible with them. They haven't dated other people, they haven't met other people, so they don't have any frame of reference as to compare the current relationship to, so that they don't know whether their relationship is actually a good one or a bad one. Why? Because they just don't have enough experience in the area. So that is my hypothesis. And why should you learn PUA? Because then you'll become a more confident, assertive man. And which society doesn't want more confident, assertive, high self-esteem men? So what are the obstacles to learning PUA? So the first obstacle is, of course, fear. Fear of what will other people think, fear of rejection from the women you're going to be talking to, just fear of pushing your comfort zone, fear of rejection from society to some level as well, because of course, society is not very accepting of PUAs. There's fear from the approach itself most of the time. So that's what we call approach anxiety. When you're afraid to approach the specific women, you feel approach anxiety. The second obstacle to learning PUA is backlash from society and backlash from your friends, possibly. I remember when I first got started in PUA many years ago, one of my best friends, I lost touch with one of my best friends because he couldn't relate to me, wanting to join this community. He couldn't understand why. And I remember I specifically told him that, I was going to stop playing video games entirely because I want to dedicate that time to working on my social skills, working on my self-confidence, working on my self-esteem. So that's what I did. And we lost touch because of that. And I've heard countless stories of guys who want to learn PUA, want to become better with themselves, or just join the self-development community. Doesn't even have to be PUA. And many of their friends, they won't be okay with it. They'll tell them, what you're doing is weird, you shouldn't be doing that. And it creates this friction with their friends, and sometimes you lose certain friends because of that. But the positive is that you can make new friends that will understand you, that will become close to you. And that's sort of the other side of the coin, but you have to be willing to, expand your comfort zone and make new friends if you're going to join this community. Also, society, of course, will always silently judge you for what you do. And, you can say that sort of at the abstract macro level, as in society in general. But also when you're going out, maybe let's say people maybe might look at you, if you're going out at night and you approach a group of people and let's say you do something a bit courageous, then you're going to attract attention from other people. Maybe some people are going to see you while you're trying to work on your social skills. And that might be a bit of social pressure put on you, and that might be a bit difficult for some to bear. So that's something to keep in mind. The next obstacle to learning PUA is the reputation problem. That's quite a prevalent problem for every guy really that joins the community, is that you're going to be known as like sort of maybe the player or the bad guy, or like the guy who just talks to, every woman or every guy, whatever, like the guy who isn't a good guy, basically. And that might happen, especially, if you're in that peak phase. At the beginning that might not happen, but when you reach a certain peak phase, then you have a sort of reputation problem, maybe on the micro level within your circle of friends, but also in general. Let's say if you want to start a business, like what I wanted to do with my personal development life coaching business, I had to be okay with putting the label PUA in my video descriptions or some of my videos, because I have a PUA audience. I help certain PUAs in their dating journey, so I have to be okay with that, and knowing that it is often the label PUA is quite alienating to certain people. Let's say if you apply for a job, you need to work at somewhere, then if you have the label PUA attached to you, then that doesn't look very good at all. At the micro level, understand that maybe that might alienate certain female friends. I remember I had some of my female friends, they couldn't relate to what I was doing, and we slowly lost touch, which is quite unfortunate because we were great friends. Sort of strange issue that happens when you join PUA is that if you sort of learn PUA but you take it too far, then you don't even remember what it's like to just talk to a regular person, to a woman, without showing any sort of romantic intent, because then you don't even know what it's like to talk to a woman normally. And that can be sort of, when you go really in the deep end, that can happen. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's just important. The fourth obstacle to learning PUA is the shame and the guilt related with the need to seek help, right? So joining PUA is a very humbling experience, because when you join PUA, when you learn about it, you have to admit to yourself that I need help in dating. You need to admit to yourself that I'm not that good with women. I'm not that good with the opposite sex. And the reason why so many, the guys, because not only women shame PUA, but why certain guys they shame PUAs, or why certain guys they make fun of PUAs, is it's actually a projection of themselves. They are shaming PUAs because ultimately they're shaming their own shadow. They're shaming their own inability to meet women, right? So many guys, right? Let's say PewDiePie. You look at PewDiePie that makes fun of PUAs. You see his video, and he cringes when he sees that. Why? Because he knows that deep down he would never be able to do something like that. He'd never be able to have the courage to speak to a woman he doesn't even know, and from A to Z, get romantic with her, invite her on a date, get intimate possibly, and all of these things. No guy will probably want to admit this, but I think this is the truth. Number 5 obstacle to getting into PUA is beta male shaming. Overcoming beta male shaming and plowing through the beta male shaming. So I've explained a bit what it was previously, but on a more practical perspective, that might happen to you in the field, quote unquote. When you go out and you interact with guys, or interact with girls, and certain guys try to shame you, or certain girls try to shame you. Haha, look at this loser talking to this girl. It might happen. It might happen, as it happened to me when I was going out, and you have to plow through this discomfort and sort of the backlash of other people that will tell you, hey, you can't ask something like this. Let's say, I don't know, you ask a woman her age, or you ask someone their age, and they say, well, you can't ask a woman their age. It's like these sort of implicit pressures that you'll be put on by society, by other people, and then you have to be willing to take it for as long as you can, or until you become alpha, as I say. And even when you're alpha, you're still going to be shamed to some extent. You're still going to be judged to some extent, but it's going to be less. But you have to plow through until you become alpha. And the sixth obstacle to learning PUA is really having to stand out from the rest, because you're going to be doing things that 99% of the population does not have the courage to do, and because you're doing something so courageous, it's going to come off as weird, because people don't have the courage to do these things. It's out of the reality of most people, and you have to accept that your reality might not be understood by others, and it's just It's just a show of your individuality. Now let's get into the juicy part of society and what society thinks about PUA and sort of the societal perspective and sort of its impact it has. Now we're getting more global here, not about just the individual, but what society thinks about PUA. What do they think about PUA and why do they hate it? Number one is basically sex is taboo. Sex dating is taboo. They don't want to talk about it. It's just simple as that. And anything that shines the light upon that is going to be judged, right? The reason why society doesn't like PUA also is because it disrupts the societal narrative. Societal narrative meaning that sort of the idea that, when you meet your girl, the woman of your dreams, it's going to be at school, it's going to be at work, you sort of do your own thing and then she just kind of shows up, you become friends at first and then you become romantic and then you become girlfriend, boyfriend, then you get married, you have 2.5 kids, you buy a house, you get retired, that's it. Everyone meets their girlfriend or boyfriend that way, right? Or, now online dating is considered okay. Online dating is considered mainstream, but for some reason PUA isn't. Meeting the woman of your dreams by just approaching her in the random, in broad daylight, or at night, it's weird for some reason, right? And it just disrupts that whole narrative that people have in their head. And because it does, society hates anything that isn't itself. That's what I like to say. Society hates anything that isn't itself. Now, what that means is that anything that diverts from society is going to judge. As simple as that. It exerts this sort of homeostatic pull, homeostasis, which I've used this word before, where anything that diverges from what's normal, it just wants to judge it and sort of bring it back to center. And, also because it disrupts the sort of peace of society, or this disrupts the order of society, because if every guy in the world were to approach a woman once they saw someone attractive, right, on the street, what kind of chaos would that create? Of course that would create quite a bit of chaos, right? Really the reason why society hates PUAs is what I like to call an unconscious, automatic, subconscious, moralistic judgment. Right? That's quite a mouthful. Let's just call it a moralistic judgment, like an instantaneous moralistic judgment. So, let's say they say something that they see something that PUAs do, like let's say they approach a stranger, and the implicit rule of society is that you shouldn't approach strangers, you shouldn't talk to strangers, you shouldn't sleep with someone like right away when you meet them, you should sleep with them after you get married. It's sort of like implicit assumptions, right? And if you violate these assumptions, you're a player, you're a slut, you're a bad person, you're a weirdo, right? People who approach you on the street is sort of the assumption that they are like homeless people or salesmen, and I'd like to challenge these judgments by also saying that these are for the most part circular judgments, right? So let's say you just take the assumption, right, the moralistic judgment that you cannot approach strangers. Let's say you ask someone that, right? Because I've been told that before by some people, that judge what I did, and it's like, oh well, why shouldn't I approach strangers? And then a person can say, well, because it's creepy, you can't do that. Well, what's creepy about that? Well, because you don't know them. Well, what's bad about that? Well, because they're strange, they can't even explain why approaching a stranger is bad. And it feeds into this sort of circularity. Why this circularity happens, I believe, is people who are at a stage of, I'm going to get really nerdy here, but people at this stage blue of spiral dynamics stage, where it's sort of the moralistic, judgmental stage of development, where you follow everything that society tells you to do, you don't divert from the norm. It is also a stage where really you don't question authority. And people who are at this level, really, when you do anything that stands out from the implicit rules of society, they're going to judge you. So it's really just a sort of unconscious, automatic judgment that occurs because they see something that is not part of their reality. This is what I call a judgment from below, right? When you sort of moralizing just for no reason. It's just sort of like a judgment a level below because you don't understand something, right? But then there are certain occasional judgments from above that I like to call. So from people, certain feminists, that have the right to speak on this matter, of course, and they say that women, we should have more empathy for these women, that when they are getting approached, when they don't want to, and it sort of borders on harassment, all that. So I understand, this point of view, even though I disagree on the part where PUA is harassment. I completely disagree with that. But I agree with sort of the empathy that we need to have for women. And this is actually a legitimate judgment as to, it's a legitimate assessment that, yes, we need more empathy towards women. PUAs need more empathy towards women. You have to treat them in a human way and all that. But what I want to challenge, what I want to say and what I want to challenge you with is that we also need more empathy for these men who are learning that maybe, don't know their ropes fully. And this is why some of them might be making mistakes, right? So that's just as a side note. Now let's look at how as to other factors as to why society hates PUAs that's actually integral to PUAs. Like, what do PUAs do for society to hate them, right? Because, it's not all the fault of society. It's also PUA's fault in a way as to why they're so alienating, why people don't understand it. And the first reason why is because they kind of shoot themselves in the foot with their marketing. PUAs, when they want to, the point of marketing is mostly you want to appeal to like as niche to an audience as you want. Usually, depends on what kind of product you want to sell, but especially PUA, because it is a really sort of underground movement, underground community, and people in it, you know their language. You know what's a set. What like a day game and night game set is. The difference between natural game, canned game, routines, and all that. You know how to show intent. What is premise? It's sort of how do you evaluate the girl and all that. All these strange jargon that the general population doesn't understand, and you're going to use these very specific words, right? And sometimes in the marketing, you try to be incredibly sensational, sometimes shocking to some extent, and they'll say things in the marketing that might be a bit over the top, right? And I have a PUA product, and if you look at the sales page, there's certain things in there that might be a bit, might make you laugh or that may be a bit shocking, because this is the sort of marketing that works in the industry, unfortunately. And of course, if someone from the general population were to see that, they would be shocked. Also, a reason why society hates PUAs is a lot of PUAs, they get stuck in the materialistic need level of, I just want to get laid. And that's an unfortunate truth about the community, but a necessary truth in order to go to higher levels, right? To go to higher levels of consciousness. But it is sort of the staying at this sort of basic material need that makes society hate PUAs. And it's unfortunate, because I wish that more PUAs, could level themselves up and, go to a higher level of consciousness where now they include the women in their reality, fulfilling the needs of the women, not just your own needs. Yes, PUA is slowly but surely working to that level, to be more inclusive, but it's still struggling to some extent, which is why some of the criticism is legitimate, in my opinion. And I just want to leave with this note on marketing, is that all marketing that you see in PUA is an illusion, right? If you ever saw some of these PUA sales pages that look really sort of glamorous, crazy, like, make her beg for sex and all this crazy shit, okay? Know that what all of these men say is actually sort of a exaggeration, magnification, you could say, that isn't the truth. And what these products sell versus what they deliver is very different most of the time. It's not as crazy as what you see on the marketing page. So don't get fooled by that. Now, I want to make a very important distinction between external and internal judgments, right? So you can judge a society, you can judge a community by what they do from the outside, right? From an outsider's perspective, or you can judge a community from an insider's perspective, which is, what I'm trying to do right now. Because I was part of the PUA community, I have sort of a more holistic understanding of PUA, and I have a deeper understanding of PUA that most people outside of society that are not part of this paradigm do not understand. And because I've come in and out of it, I have a better understanding than all of you feminists or all of you social justice warriors that think that you know everything about PUA, while clearly you have no fucking clue what you're talking about when you refer to PUAs, of course. Now, of course, you know everything about women's rights, about the equality and all that. Yes, you're the expert in that field, but you have no clue what PUA actually is. So that's what I want to say anyways. But so you can judge it from the external, right? You can look at what PUAs are doing, in the outside, and that's what you see in the media. It's like they take snippets of what PUAs are doing. We call it infill footage of them like interacting with women, and because some aspect of it seems a bit creepy, they blow it out of proportion, and they think that the reality of PUA is what you see on the outside. What is it actually in the inside? If you dive into the PUA community, if let's say if a reporter, let's say a journalist, were to dive into the PUA community and stay in that community for a year, 2 years, just learn the ropes, and also if this journalist were to learn PUA with a PUA coach, and really a journalist that's struggling with dating and all that, and if you were to document his whole journey for a year, right, that would be judgment from the inside. Now you'd be able to judge this community from the inside. And really what it is from the inside, from my perspective and from what I've seen, is that PUA is a group of lonely men that they don't know any better. Maybe they lack a bit of confidence and they want to become better as people. And all of you guys who say that, oh, they're just a pathetic losers that that need to get laid, fuck all of you. Fuck all of you, because it's not because a man is at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy that he should stay there. It's not because a man is struggling in dating that he should be struggling for the rest of his life. And if you condemn this guy saying that what he's doing is wrong and working on himself is wrong, then you can go fuck yourself. And I say that with the deepest and the most loving of intentions, because I was one of these guys. And these guys deserve empathy, they need help, they don't deserve to be fucking shamed by society. So I wanted to make this important distinction so you can judge something from the outside, but until you were in it, your judgment has very little value. You have to understand also that the internal and external aspects of this community are symbiotic. Symbiotic in the sense that what they do in the inside will affect what they do on the outside, right? And if you stop judging what they do on the outside, then the internals will change. The internal factors will change, right? PUAs will work really hard on, making the PUAs have more confidence in themselves, be more empathetic towards the girl, know all the right tools and techniques, to be a good person and, be a good person to interact with as well. While this will help, if society keeps influencing sort of the judgment it has, then it's not going to help these men. Now let's look at a really important topic as to why PUA is seen as creepy, quote unquote. Why is it seen as creepy? Why do some people hate it? And this is quite a touchy topic. I might get a bit emotional here because really this is really important to address. And the first reason why it's seen as creepy is that I think most people believe that PUA is sort of manipulative and selfish. And unfortunately, that's the case for old school PUA, which is, not something I promote at all. It's actually, I think it's really bad. And because that's what the media has seen, that's what they think PUA is. All these techniques, these routines, whatever, all the sort of peacocking and, looking very strange. I think that's a thing of the past. And, we should really look at how to make PUA something sort of better, like a sort of institution where men can really learn to better themselves in dating and in life. And that's not the case for old school PUA. So I think this is legitimate in that extent. But really the reason why it's seen as creepy the most is just the result of harsh natural selection. Now, what I mean by natural selection is that basically the rich will get richer, the poor will get poor, right? The people who are at the top of the dominance hierarchy, you know, like the men who are just, you know, live in society and, you know, they survive and they're successful, they're going to see, and they're successful, let's just take dating as an example, right? They're successful in dating. Any other guys at the bottom who don't have any success in dating, it only makes sense to alienate them. Why? Because, well, you know, they're not able to reproduce. It's their problem, and they're creepy, and women don't like men at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy. So these men are going to, you know, let's just throw them in the garbage. And unfortunately, this just sort of unconsciously happened, and this is what women naturally do, is that, of course, women don't want an ugly guy. If an ugly guy were to talk to you, you'd say, no, thank you, I don't want this, I'm busy, sorry, bye, and that's the end. If an attractive guy were to say the exact same thing, or, you know, approach you the same way, you'd be okay with it, which is, you know, it is what it is. It's not good or bad. It's just how reality works, is that, you know, same in business, right? You know, the guy who doesn't know how to sell himself but is really smart and has an IQ of 200, the nerd who basically probably is the smartest dude ever, just because he's shy, he doesn't know how to sell himself, he goes to the, you know, the job employer and he doesn't get a job. While paradoxically, the guy who's charismatic, really social, you know, really extroverted, really funny, and, you know, he knows how to sell himself, but he's a fucking dumbass, this guy will get the job. So it's just sort of a unfortunate thing in society where, you know, nice guys finish last, as you like to say, and natural selection really just sort of, this is what happens to nice guys. And that's why some assholes get the girls, but actually it's not the fact because they're assholes, but it's because they have the confidence. They know how to sell themselves. They sort of know how to bring in positive emotions to the table that a nice guy can't, right? So my advice, of course, is for men, which I've said before, is that you have to, if you are part of sort of the majority of men who, you know, aren't as attractive as sort of the most attractive guys, well, you have to be able to rise to the occasion and be able to counter the laws of natural selection, because really what PUA is you are trying to defy the laws of natural selection by making yourself more attractive and actually becoming the top lobster at the top of the dominance hierarchy, as Jordan Peterson would refer to. And why is PUA seen as creepy? Also because of just bad game. You know, 90% of PUAs in the community are actually beginners. Yeah, they're actually beginners. That means that they don't know how to game. You know, the average lifespan of someone in the community maybe 6 to 8 months. And, you know, a few people, maybe they stay here for the long run, like me and my friends were, for example. We stayed for quite a few years. But I would say that usually most people that they dabble in PUA, usually after a few months they leave. Which leads me to saying that basically 90% of guys in the community completely suck, right? Maybe, you know, the guy you saw in the, I don't know, PUA bootcamp video, you know, it's like this viral video on YouTube of like this creepy pickup artists. They're just beginners. They don't know what the heck they're doing. They're not taught properly. They don't have the right coaches, and even the coaches are creepy as well because they don't know what the hell they're teaching. They're just trying to make money. They're trying to make ends meet. And because of that unpolished game, of course it comes off creepy. But if you were to take the best of the best PUAs, like the guys who are just, it looks, when you do it, it looks so effortless. And I've even had stories of those guys who talk to women, and you know, those guys, they're doing super well. It's super smooth. They're sort of escalating and they're getting intimate, and you know, they meet the next date, and then the girl just all of a sudden says, you know what? You know, I hate pickup artists. They're so stupid. They're so creepy. I don't want to, you know, I would never fall for these tricks. And, you know, I'm glad you're not a pickup artist. And then the guy says, yeah, well, I'm glad I'm not a pickup artist either. No, they're so stupid. And this guy is actually a pickup artist. So how ironic it is that, you know, the best pickup artists, actually, they don't even look like pickup artists. They're so good at game that you wouldn't even know that they're actually doing pickup, quote unquote, those are the best. And really, those are, those are really rare. And they never get criticized because they are never spotted. No one knows that they're doing pickup because it just looks effortless. And this is like 5% of guys or 1% of guys in the community that reach that level. But to reach that level takes so much work and dedication that most guys will never reach it. And many coaches, that's kind of what they try to do, right? Is sort of reach that. And now they start teaching the guys to reach that level, but it just doesn't happen because it takes a long, it's really hard. And another reason why society finds PUA creepy, quote unquote, is because, most people, it's just a projection of something that they would never dare to do, right? Because a guy has the courage to talk to a woman, do something very courageous, they would call it creepy because they would never dare to do something like that. And often the creepiness is sort of this cringe that you feel is because those guys maybe are sexually repressed, or those are sort of guys who don't understand relationships, don't understand sexuality, don't understand dating. And when they see something that just push themselves outside of what is okay to them, what is normal to them, they'll find it creepy. They'll judge it as creepy. And yes, some people will judge the creepiness sort of from a empathetic perspective for the women. And that does make sense. But because something is creepy, because something is uncomfortable, it doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it something dangerous. Creepy is not dangerous. It doesn't mean because you feel uncomfortable in the interaction, it doesn't mean that it is actually something dangerous. It doesn't mean that it is assault. Right? Because you're uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that any harm is being done. Discomfort is just a part of human life. Now let's look at why PUAs are seen as sociopaths by certain people. Well, first of all, they're not sociopaths, they're not psychopaths, they're just regular people, regular men who just want to get better at dating. And why they might appear this way is because some of them become really jaded. They're really jaded, really sort of numb. And that happens because, as I've talked about, the natural selection process, because of the harsh reality of natural selection and getting rejections, or especially those guys that go out at night. At night the people are in nightclubs and all that, they're not really nice, let's just say. It's not like the nicest of environments. And if you ever tried, as a drunk, if you ever hung out with your friends and you tried picking up a girl at night, it's not the most sort of friendly of environments, let's say. And going out night after night, seeing sort of all of these things and, witnessing crazy stuff like cheating and, really twisted stuff sometimes, that you reach a point, especially for the intermediate guys, maybe in the community, they become really sort of accustomed to it. And the sort of veteran that has seen everything, now they see something weird, it just doesn't faze them anymore. That's sort of the state that some of these guys can reach, and for that reason they might come off as a bit cold to some people. And it's really sort of more of a self-defense mechanism that occurs so that you're no longer hurt. And me, especially me, who was I was a very sort of highly sensitive person. I still am a really highly sensitive person, and throughout my journey in PUA, I sort of became desensitized because I kind of had to. It just kind of occurred naturally because of all the crazy stuff I was seeing, when I was going out, and it made me incredibly jaded. And that's just something that can happen to some guys, unfortunately. And yes, there is a solution for that, but I think that is the main reason why. Now, why does society need more PUAs? Why does society need PUA? Now, disclaimer here, this is just hypothesis theory. This is not, based on any sort of scientific data or anything like that, or not really like academic research or anything like that. This is just my straight up opinion from, my years of experience in the game. So, and my experience in personal development and all that. So, first of all, society needs to be more accepting of pickup artists and PUA to destigmatize the whole taboo of sex, dating, and relationships. Now, of course, relationships aren't taboo. It's more like the sex and dating aspect that leads to relationships. And because the current state of affairs is that because sex and dating is taboo, especially for men, for some reason for men it is taboo, it's pushed in the shadows, as I've explained previously, and that creates a huge problem in the collective unconscious and the collective ego of society, where basically the whole society does not, the entire society takes sex and dating as taboo. Next reason why society needs more PUA is that it will lead to less divorce, right? And that might sound crazy, and I explained it in a previous segment of this video, but if men were to experience dating, know exactly what they want, then they would find a partner more suitable to their needs, and they would be less likely to divorce from that person, right? Because men who are in abundance, aka men who, they know that they have the ability to meet, attract, and seduce women. Men in abundance are less likely to settle down, quote unquote, with someone that they are not compatible with. Why? Because these men would have more options, quote unquote. They would have more abundance, therefore they could go out in the dating market, quote unquote, and find the ideal partner for them instead of settling down for someone they don't particularly are compatible with. Also, these men who would have more experience with a wider range of partners or wider range of people would know exactly what kind of person that they need. And I'm sorry, but sort of the illusion that, you'll just find the ideal partner when they come, if you just be yourself and all that, then this is sort of just a fairy tale of society, and it's not grounded on any sort of tangible thing. PUA is a very practical, grounded in reality practice, where really it's something that you have a certain hypothesis that, if I say this to a woman, then she's going to like me, or if I behave in a certain way, then, this is the likely outcome in a relationship, then, and you test it out repeatedly over and over again. It's like PUA is the applied scientific method. You make a hypothesis, you go out there and you try it. And you do that over and over and over again. And then, of course, by doing that, you're more likely to find a partner that you want. Does that make any sense, right? Makes a lot more sense that if you were to, just trust that someday your partner will come. Like, this is just wishful thinking, and wishful thinking does not work. The reason why society needs PUAs is that PUA helps men to become better. Learning dating relationships, it really helps men to become more and more confident in themselves, better men, stronger men. And if we have stronger, more confident men, more leaders, more men with more leadership, more charisma, that leads to having higher quality men in society. Therefore, that leads to having a higher quality society, right? Let me repeat that. So having more men who are more confident, more assertive, more charismatic, higher quality will lead to having higher quality men in our society, therefore having a higher quality society, right? And of course, women will be more happy. If women were to meet more men that were more confident, more sure of themselves, more charismatic, have more leadership, then those would lead to having more satisfied women, happier women who can embrace the feminine side, sort of embrace the masculine man that they have around them, and they will be much happier. Which leads me to my next point, that having PUA in our society, being more accepting of PUA, would lead to a higher consciousness society, more developed society. Now you might think on the surface of, well, helping guys get laid, how can that help society? Well, that can help society because, well, first of all, that will eliminate sort of the shadow elements of our collective consciousness. But also, when these guys will no longer need, to get laid, no longer need those sort of those relational elements in their lives, they'll be able to level up and, take care of their kids. They'll be able to take care of their career. So then now they can evolve in their career because they no longer need to worry about, having a girlfriend, or, they no longer feel lonely. So because they no longer feel lonely, they can graduate to something else. This is just a natural evolution of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you meet the lower needs of love, relationship, sex, and all that, then you can level up to a next level where now you can talk about, having a contribution to the world, which is what I'm trying to do with these videos. Since I have my girlfriend, it's like a door has opened for me. Now I want to think about my business and how to help other men around the world and women around the world to become better, stronger, better people. And it wouldn't be without PUA, I would have never been able to do these things. So PUA is not the final destination, but it is a stepping stone to a higher place. And you have to see it holistically as such. Similarly to how, drug rehabilitation programs are, people who are addicted to heroin or, Alcoholics Anonymous. These sort of institutions are set up not as the destination, but as sort of a stepping stone to getting to the point where you're no longer addicted or you no longer need that sort of help. So that's same with PUA. It's sort of a temporary journey in a man's life, or any man who wants to join PUA, where they go into that community, they learn the ropes, they learn the fundamentals so that they can overcome all their shortcomings or all of their sort of limitations when it comes to dating, and then move on to something else. And the final reason why, in my opinion, society needs to be more accepting of PUAs is because, and also this is the most important reason, so listen closely, it's because society has zero infrastructures to help men in their dating lives. Well, think about it. Think about this really deeply. Like, does society have any infrastructure in place to help lonely men who struggle in their dating? I mean, maybe there's like sort of speed dating, or there's like, you can talk to your psychologist about it, but if you have no clue how to seduce a woman, you're texting her, you want to meet up with her, you have no clue, who are you going to ask? Are you going to ask your psychologist about it? Are you going to ask your doctor about it? Your dad, right? Your friends? What are your bros going to say, right? What are your friends going to say? Men have no access to any knowledge or resource, like, by society to help them in dating. There's literally nothing. So because there is nothing, because men have no access to any resource, they have to go into PUA. They don't have a choice, because it's, as I said, the shadow of society, the result of the shadow of the collective consciousness, the whole taboo of society around sex and dating. That's why they go in PUA. And if society had infrastructures, for example, maybe that wouldn't be the case. So for example, imagine a society, okay, this is my ideal, and this is sort of my hypothesis, and maybe that will happen in 100 years, 200 years, I don't know, or maybe that will never happen. But imagine a society like this, where, you're born, you go to school, and once you go to high school, when you're like 14, 15, or whatever age, that you start having sort of these dating tendencies, they make you a mental health screening test, right? They just sort of screen you, they give you the DSM-5 or whatever. They screen you for depression, anxiety, social anxiety, and they look at, your dating. Like, hey, they have certain questions that say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much I struggled in the dating sphere. Do I have anxiety, when I talk to someone? Just sort of basic questions to screen their sort of mental state. And based on these questions, it would be great if after that, let's say they realize that this person really struggles with social anxiety and dating, that they would have sort of a counselor at school that would help them in their social, with their social anxiety and their dating. Imagine you could have that as early as 14, 15, 16 years old. And, they would even have maybe a dating coach. And, when you become 17, 18, 19, you have access to dating coaches on college campuses or university campuses. And you can just, at least have a counselor that you speak to, that let's say you have a problem with a girl at school, and you're like, hey, there's this cute girl in my class, I don't know how to speak to her, what should I do? And you have a dating coach that would actually help you, to have the confidence to overcome these problems. And of course, it should be, it can be all confidential and all that. It doesn't have to be sort of like a public program where every guy needs to learn the PUA tactics. But if society had these infrastructures in place, and they would even have certain PUA coaches there, maybe, who knows, that would be great. And imagine, that would be insane, but imagine that they were classrooms, obviously incredibly confidential and private, but imagine they had private classrooms where they would, let's say when you're 18, 19, 20, where there's actually a dating coach that tells you, okay, so this is how you talk to a woman, this is how you become more social. And they would have the homework that maybe once a year or twice a year, they would go out to, I don't know, a new city, maybe a nightclub in Vegas or in this new city, and they would actually practice their social skills and dating skills, as in PUA. You don't have to call it PUA, but imagine you had that. And I think that would be amazing what that could do, just for sort of helping guys in their social skills and all that. And if we had all these infrastructures in place, imagine how that could change the game for society. Now, why would that never happen? Or why would that, that's probably just a pipe dream, is because it's not necessary for society. Yes, men, if they want to learn dating, they just go to PUA and they get judged by society. That's kind of what you have to do now. There's not really any infrastructures for men. And also probably because it wouldn't create any jobs for society. But arguably, if we open a sector of the economy that is dating, PUA and all that, and you had jobs at schools where you have certain counselors and coaches that could, teach younger men in the dating area, or even women, by the way. I haven't mentioned women, but, even dating tips for women, right? You have dating coaches for women as well at school, for example. Then that could open up a new sector of the economy. Now the question arises, well, how are you going to train these people, these men and women, to become coaches? Because there's not a science around that, and it's really sort of very abstract. And how could you teach such a thing as dating, right? That would open a new entire field of science, the science of seduction and all that. And maybe they'd have lab tests where they test what men or women are attracted to it, and based on these tests, then they would do training programs and dating programs, that would help certain people that struggle. The people in the lower level of the dominance hierarchy that have no success in dating, we could help these people by just teaching them, these findings. And that's really far out there, but imagine what that could do for society. Now that I've talked about why, PUA needs to be more accepted in society, now talking about acceptance, what does that truly mean, right? Because, you can accept PUA as yeah, you know what, it's kind of creepy, but whatever, these guys are going to do their thing. Or you truly unconditionally accept it. Now, what I want to propose is that, what I said at the beginning of the video is that shaming, judgment, and all of these things will not solve the issue of, men struggling in dating, right? That will only exacerbate things. So what is my alternative to this? My alternative to shaming and judgment is unconditional, loving acceptance. For example, you're at school, you're a girl and you're dating the popular sort of frat boy, college boy, football player that every girl likes, right? You're dating this guy, right? That means that the guy, the loser, quote unquote, that has no friends, the guy who struggles in dating, that is lonely, has basically dresses really badly, doesn't know how to groom himself, that this guy also deserves to be loved, also deserves to have the opportunity, at least to have a chance with you. Even if it's a chance, this guy should at least be given the opportunity and the free will to at least approach you and try to at least give it a shot. And if any men are not even given the shot to try to seduce you or try to at least, get on a date with you or anything, then that's preposterous. That would mean that you don't accept these men. And if we give more unconditional loving acceptance to all of these men, then that would only help. And that's really a message to all women that I want to say is, of course, it's not going to be dealt with by tomorrow, but the message that I have to give to all women is that be more loving, accepting, and open. Right. As long as the guy is not, trying to, as long as he's not being like, as long as he's not assaulting you, as long as he's not dangerous or harming you, at least be kind to this person. Right. I'd say if you ever encounter PUA or a guy that approaches you that isn't that attractive, don't give him, don't be rude to him. Don't be rude to him, because I've seen so much in my PUA journey and other men and how they've been criticized, and just certain women that are so rude to these guys, those poor guys that, just trying to get better in dating and their social skills. And it really rips my heart that some people can be that heartless. And total acceptance also means that these guys, right? Let's say these guys, like the most ugly guy that, I don't know, the guy who, you wouldn't find attractive at all, that he approaches you, that you would accept, you have total unconditional acceptance and love for this guy, but also unconditional forgiveness for his lack of social grace. Because let's face it, if a guy that, isn't very attractive, isn't very skilled socially, he's probably going to be a bit weird and awkward. And you have to be able to forgive this guy, forgive this person for his lack of finesse, quote unquote. And, maybe you're on a date with a guy and he tries to kiss you too fast. And you have this sort of forgiveness and, you can forgive this guy for maybe lacking the sort of the finesse in his approach. Every man on earth deserves unconditional love and acceptance, and deserve to also have sex. They deserve to reproduce. They deserve all of these things. Now we are getting into part 2 of this video, which is how to actually learn PUA, right? How do you learn PUA? Not just learn it, but learn it in the right way, in the ethical way, in the right way, that makes sense. So how do you learn PUA the moral and ethical way? Well, let's start with looking at the moral side of things, where, PUAs, they're really facing a moral dilemma where, what is considered moral by society isn't necessarily the highest moral thing to do. It is not necessarily the most moral thing to do, because the collective believes in a specific moral code. It doesn't mean that this moral code applies to you necessarily. It doesn't mean that it is the best moral code for you and for society at large, by that matter. So my belief is that if you do PUA, you should do it from a utilitarian perspective, meaning utilitarianism, where you look at how you can benefit the greatest amount of people. In that scenario, when you're approaching a woman, you want not only to benefit you, but also the woman that you're speaking to, right? You want to give her a positive experience. You want to make her laugh. You want to make her happy. You want to make her day. You want to, make it a positive experience. And if you can just expand beyond sort of a selfish idea of getting laid, and you also expand to, giving a positive experience to the person you're talking to, then you are on the right track, in my opinion. If your actions benefit you and her, then go ahead. But if your actions in PUA can potentially harm her, then you should stop. For example, if let's say you want to go on a date with a woman, but she tells you that she has a boyfriend. If you make her cheat on her boyfriend, then would that help in a utilitarian perspective? Well, you can look at it in 2 ways, right? If you make her cheat, then it's going to ruin the guy's life. Maybe it's going to ruin her life because she did something that she regretted, right? And maybe in your own moral code, and it's for you to decide, but in my moral code, making someone else cheat on their partner is just out of the question, for me at least. But you could bend the moral code and you look at, okay, well, maybe they were not meant to be together anyway, and her cheating, maybe that would sort of, that would teach a lesson to the guy. Who maybe the guy is toxic, maybe he deserves it. There are millions of reasons as to why you would do such a thing, but it's just to think ethically here. Okay, you have to ask yourself the question, is this the right thing? And from my perspective, it is almost never the right thing, but you have to think critically as you do PUA. Another rule that I have in my moral code when it comes to PUA, when I used to do PUA, is that I would never lie. In old school PUA, they teach you a bunch of lines, techniques, and whatever, and some of these include stories about, to show your higher status that you don't even have, and sort of lying about your higher status. Now, looking at how PUAs can do PUA in an ethical and moral way, we need to look at Lawrence Kohlberg's 3 stages of moral development. And what this model suggests is that there are 3 levels of moral development, where first you are pre-conventional, then you become conventional, and eventually you become post-conventional. And the idea that I want to propose is PUAs, they have to reach a stage of post-conventional development in their moral code in order to be able to do PUA from an ethical and independent way, and also in a way that can benefit themselves, the women they're talking to, and society at large. Here are the 3 stages. So at the pre-conventional stage, basically it's a stage where you think from an egocentric level of me, 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 me. And basically, it's a stage where one has not yet adopted or internalized society's conventions regarding what is right or wrong, but instead focuses largely on external consequences that certain actions may bring. But that's sort of the low level sort of punishment of, if I do a good thing or bad thing, I'm going to be punished. And, this is sort of the lowest level of morality, where you don't even know what's right or wrong in society. So people at this stage, they're gonna steal, they're gonna, kill people, they're gonna murder, they're gonna rape if they're not caught by society. Basically, this is the lower level here. At a conventional level, the conventional level of moral reasoning is typical of adolescents and adults. To reason in a conventional way is to judge the morality of actions by comparing them to society's views and expectations. So talking about, what society expects of you. The conventional level consists of the 3rd and 4th stages of moral development. Conventional morality is characterized by an acceptance of society's conventions concerning right and wrong. At this level, an individual obeys rules and follows society's norms, even when there are no consequences for obedience or disobedience. Adherence to rules and conventions is somewhat rigid, however, and the rule's appropriateness or fairness is seldom questioned. Now, this is what I like to call the conformist. Someone who just follows the rules of society because they want to follow them. And obviously, if you need to do PUA, you don't abide by these rules, right? You start thinking for yourself, which leads me to the 3rd level of moral development, which is post-conventional. And this is the most interesting, which reads as follows. The post-conventional level, also known as the principled level, is marked by a growing realization that individuals are separate entities from society, and that the individual's own perspective may take precedence over society's views. Right, so that means that your own independent moral code can override the moral code of society if you judge it to be superior, if you judge it to be more adequate for the situation, right? Individuals may disobey rules inconsistent with their own principles. And basically, to become post-conventional, as I suggest, for PUAs, is that you have to reach a stage in your moral development where, you've assimilated what is right in society. Okay, so you have to be polite with people, you have to be polite with strangers, don't be rude, don't be a creep, all that, whatever. But then certain rules like don't approach strangers. Rules like that don't serve you, you override them. Because there's a higher virtue that you have in your life, which is to go for what you want in life, to give positive experiences, to be adventurous, to be creative, to be self-expressive, to grow yourself, to push your comfort zone, to make her day, to make her feel better about herself. right? If you reach that stage where you do game from a natural place, as the modern PUA that I've explained earlier in this video, you do it from a good and authentic place, then your moral code can override this one of society, which doesn't make sense in that scenario. Now, the problem that society makes is what I call the pre-trans fallacy. And that's actually a term by Ken Wilber that he uses in development psychology, where some people, they mistake a previous level as being more advanced than it is, or they mistake an advanced level as actually being regressive. Now let me explain. For example, I don't know, there's some people in the New Age community that think that going back to the tribal days and the tam-tams and tapping on the bongos and doing all these rituals, these people were so advanced because they were so connected with nature, and nowadays we're just modern, we don't even care about nature and all of that, and then they believe that these people were actually more conscious, more evolved, but that's not the case. In fact, they're if you want to go back to these days, you're actually going back a step. That's sort of the gist of the pre-trans fallacy, and I want to suggest that to PUAs as well. Society judges PUAs as actually being pre-conventional in their moral development, where they think that PUAs are actually only out for themselves and to hell with the consequences, and they just want to get laid no matter what. If that includes rape, then they'll do it. That is totally untrue. Yes, there are extremely fringe cases of PUAs that are a bit fucked up, like in any community in the world, right? You can, just go to your workplace. There's always that fringe guy who doesn't, that just doesn't care about being here and is probably like maybe a murderer, right? You go to your workplace, you go to school, you go in the army, right? In the army, there's always this weird dude guy who is in there not because he wants to serve his country, but because he has a twisted, liking or hobby for killing people, right? And same in the PUA community. And how can you judge the entirety of a community on their fringe edge cases? That's total nonsense to me. So actually, a lot of PUAs, to be at that stage where you can go out there and approach a woman and defy the conventions of society, by definition, to be in the PUA community, you have to be post-conventional. And yes, there are certain exceptions, but the quiet majority, as I've alluded to in the beginning of my video, you can watch the previous parts if you skipped at that point, but the quiet majority is actually post-conventional, because they've embraced the rules of society. They know that talking to strangers can be weird, but they do it anyway because they know that it's the higher moral thing to do. That if you see a woman that you really find attractive, and she could potentially be the mother of your future children, she could potentially be the love of your life, and you let it pass by, then you did the wrong thing. And then the morally justified and the higher virtue thing to do would actually be to go out there and have the courage to approach this woman and to tell her your feelings, to tell her that you find her attractive and that you would like to go on a date with her. That would be the right thing to do. So you see how you can look at the moral code of PUA in different ways. And instead of judging from the fringe lower cases, how about you look at the good guys in that community? And how about you look at all the positive things this could bring, not only in terms of personal development, but even in moral development in society. Imagine if society could become post-conventional. Imagine if people in life could start thinking for themselves, start thinking independently, and then you would have more, if you had more post-conventional thinkers in the world, then you would have more developed thinkers in the world. And I dare to say that some PUAs that you'll meet are some of the smartest, most literate people you've ever met. And that might be a shock to some of you. Maybe you look at PUA, they act stupid, they say stupid shit, and it looks stupid on the surface, but again, don't judge a book by its cover. As I've alluded to, there's an external way to judge something, there's an internal way to judge something. And if you judge by its cover, then you can't really understand the depths that is inside of that person. And some of them are just incredibly smart, incredibly literate. Some of my PUA acquaintances, they ended up, going in business and making like hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions. Incredibly smart guys, incredibly successful guys, and you wouldn't even believe how smart these guys are, how resourceful these guys are. And it's really a shame that people put them in such low regard. And it's not a way to judge a man. You can't really judge a man by just some of his actions that he does, maybe 1% of his life, and disregard the rest. Only because a man engages in an activity that is unconventional to society doesn't make him a lower man, doesn't make him a man that is not worthy of being appreciated, loved, and accepted. So here comes the ultimate moral question, right? Because I think society morally questions PUA because they think it's bad and they're asking the wrong question. I think the hypothetical question that they're asking is that, is it okay for a guy to be a rapist, to be a creep, so just that he can get laid? That's kind of the question that is implicitly being raised by all the criticism of PUA. That's a loaded question, assuming that all PUAs are creeps and all PUAs are rapists, which isn't the case. The real moral question to ask is it okay, is it morally okay for a man who struggles in the dating area in his self-esteem to go out there and approach women and potentially annoy some women so that one day he may have the chance to find the love of his life and start a family and be happy in society? That's the real moral question. You could add to this question, well, to be more realistic and to have certain, so you guys take me on faith, is it morally acceptable for a guy to potentially creep out a few girls that will be annoyed and maybe will slap him in the face and they'll be really messed up and write a post about it on Facebook that a creep talked to them and all that, just so, and that happens a few times, maybe maximum, in this guy's life, so that eventually can find the love of his life and make another woman happy for the rest of his life and have children, have an amazing family, and be successful and be happy in a relationship area and no longer suffer from loneliness. Is it morally acceptable? And my answer is yes. If you have to, from a utilitarian perspective, okay, yes, maybe you annoy 100 women slightly so that one man can be incredibly happy, incredibly feeling love and connection and intimacy with a woman. Yes, you'll annoy maybe 100 women. Let's just put a hypothetical number slightly so that you can be happy for the rest of your life. Because yes, okay, you will annoy some women, but if that's necessary in order to get to that point where you have mastered dating and mastered game, or if you don't like the word game, just say the word dating, then I think it's totally worth it. And I think anyone who says that it is morally wrong to do such a thing, if anyone that says that this is just wrong, you shouldn't do it, then I think you are delusional. You're delusional in thinking that maybe this guy could just talk to one girl that is cool and then he won't annoy anyone else. Okay, he'll just magically they'll end up together for the rest of their lives. I think it's totally delusional. And the way that society expects you to find a mate, as naturally as just being yourself, as you go through school and work, then I don't think it works that way. Yes, it works for some and for some people, but it's not the optimal, ideal way by any means. It's a weird analogy, it's not the best, but saying that PUAs are not allowed to approach strangers is like saying that, maybe people in need are not allowed to approach strangers. Like, think of homeless people who, yes, they annoy people every day by asking for food, but hey, they kind of need to do it in a sense. And in the same way, men, they need to approach women to start a relationship because men are the pursuers, men are the seducers. They have to do it. So it will kind of make no sense to say, hey, yeah, homeless people are not allowed to approach strangers, while PUAs are not allowed to approach strangers. It makes, to me, it's the moral equivalent of saying homeless people are not allowed to beg for money. And no, I'm not saying PUAs are homeless, or I'm not comparing PUAs to homeless people. I'm just drawing the sort of moral question into place as to, is it, acceptable or not morally? So, think of it in moral terms, not in literal terms. Okay, so you understand what I mean. As a PUA, should you bend the moral code of society? And my answer is, it depends. It depends, but mostly you should bend the moral code if the code of society doesn't make sense, right? Like, for example, the assumption that you shouldn't talk to strangers, then that just makes no sense. That just makes no sense, because how do you meet people? You have to talk to someone you don't know in order for you to know them. It's like the chicken and the egg problem. It's like, well, to get experience at a job, to get this job, you need experience. Okay, well, I have no experience, so I need this job to get experience. So how am I going to get a job to get experience if I don't have experience in the first place? And to get experience, I need to get this job. Right? So it's sort of this circular problem here. So to meet someone, you need to approach strangers. It makes no sense not to approach strangers. Another reason to break the moral code of society is when you find a moral reason to do something that really overrides everything else and is better for the betterment of mankind and everything else. So for example, let's look at, is it ethically right to approach a stranger? In the PUA context of seduction. And what I want to propose to you is, ask yourself this question. If every man on earth had the courage, had the audacity to approach a woman that they were attracted to and to give that woman a chance to potentially meet their future husband, and then we would have a much less lonely world, wouldn't we? We'd have a much better world, because then anytime there would be like an opportunity for two people to meet and fall in love with each other, they would take this opportunity, which is what I did with my girlfriend. And I wouldn't be here with my girlfriend and happy with her if I didn't take this opportunity. So from a moral perspective, isn't that the best thing to do? Isn't that the right thing to do for mankind? That whenever you see, a beautiful woman and she could potentially be the love of your life, then yes, a man should be allowed to approach her and strike a conversation. And now look at how I'm broadening the perspective here as to, you're doing a thing because you believe every man has the right to do it, and every man should have the courage to do such a thing. And by doing such a thing, then you would open up the possibilities of what is possible in love and relationships, and more relationships in the world, and less loneliness. And potentially your small action could have a butterfly effect, and you would inspire other men to do the same because you do YouTube videos or whatever, like me. And then that would have a butterfly effect that more men would approach more women, right? They would have more courage to do so, and there would be more love in the world, more connection in the world, and then you could solve the epitome of loneliness just by a simple action. Now I'm really taking things far out there, but now you can see how PUA is not just PUA. It's much deeper than you think. PUA is love. It is the manifestation of love. And it might not seem like it, because at first you only look at PUA as it's just guys approaching girls trying to get laid. This couldn't be further from the truth. Because behind this, after you get past this initial phase, then you open up the gates of love. And if you can open up the gates of love for every single man and woman on earth, what would that do to society? Tell me. To open up society, this possibility of infinite love for everyone. Yes, this might sound utopic, whatever, I understand, but if to strive towards this ideal of a better world, if you have to step on a few toes, if you have to annoy a few people and make some people uncomfortable and some women uncomfortable because they think you're creepy, I think it's 100% worth it. I think it's 100% worth it. And you have to be willing to annoy some people on your path towards becoming better. On your path towards becoming a better PUA, a better person, a better man, you will annoy some people. And are you willing to do that? Because if you're willing to, I understand society will not walk with you on this path, but I will walk with this fucking path with you. I will support you, and you just have to, stay tuned on this channel and, watch my videos and comment down below, and I'll make sure to respond if you feel alone in this journey, that nobody wants to help you in society in that area, and they even shame you. That's how terrible it is, how stupid society is. They even shame guys who are trying to get better in this area, and they shame them for their loneliness. If you need help, just let me know in the comments. I'll be here to help. I don't care what society has to say. And I want you to be courageous in this. Like, don't listen to what society tells you to do. Do what is true to your heart. Speaking of raising the consciousness of society and opening the gates of love, of infinite love, I want to talk about the different paradigms of PUA, the different ways in which you can approach PUAs, which paradigms are most criticized by society, and which paradigms you can do it from, so that you actually grow as a person and help other people in the process. So paradigm, by the way, is simply, to put it very simply in simple terms, it's just a way of operating in the world. Is a sort of a system of beliefs, a select amalgamation of beliefs as to how you navigate the world. Basically a worldview, just the way you understand reality, basically, or a reason why you do things. So the first paradigm of doing PUA is the materialistic paradigm. So it's basically the paradigm of you do things, you do game because you just want to get laid, you want to get validation, you want to get sex, and that's sort of the most basic level of PUA. And unfortunately, quite a few guys are stuck at that level. I wouldn't say it's the majority, but it's quite a large number, unfortunately, and at least 30 to 40% at least. And because of that, of course, society is going to, frown upon that. And I would even say, expanding beyond PUA, is that a lot of men in college, especially in college universities, they're at this paradigm. They just want to get laid. A lot of young dudes, 17, 18, 19, that's all they see is sex. They just want to get sex. And would you say that this is wrong for those young guys to want sex? I wouldn't say so. So at a materialistic paradigm, I think society has a lot of work to do when it comes in terms of accepting guys at this level, right? And, of course, you don't want to stay at this level forever, and the mistake to make for PUAs is to stay at the materialistic paradigm forever. And so then, which is why I suggest you the subsequent levels that you should aspire to. Acceptance is needed for the materialistic stage so that men can transcend the materialistic stage. If we keep shaming men for them wanting to have sex, if we keep shaming men for them to want to fulfill their sexual needs, then society is just going to, judge these men even more, and they're just going to be put down even more. And what happens when this happens? School shootings. All right, Elliot Rodger, if you haven't heard of him, he's basically a virgin 22-year-old who thought no woman ever liked him. And because there were no infrastructures in place to help him get better with women, he ended up shooting a fucking school. All right, and if you heard of Alex Minassian, of the sort of incel attack of, he rolled a van over a bunch of women because, he hates his life and he killed himself. I don't remember what happened, but events like this could have been possibly prevented if society, was more open-minded to helping men in their sex and dating lives. A second paradigm that we can do PUA from is the relational paradigm. Basically, attitude of the relational paradigm is, I want to meet someone that I deeply connect with so that I can eventually, feel a deep connection, love, and potentially get in a relationship. And this is a great paradigm. I think this is the most accepted by society. It's just, I think, the means of getting that relationship that society disagrees upon, which is PUA. while there are many ways to reaching that goal of finding that relationship or that person you connect with, I don't think that the path of learning PUA should be discounted as being wrong. And I think it should be a possible path for men to explore. It shouldn't be something that you just sort of cut away. And really, I think this is a great paradigm because then you take into consideration the other person, you take into consideration the women you're talking to, and you have more sort of a together perspective, right? A collective perspective on it's not just me, right? And my own materialistic needs. It's also her. It's also how she feels, what she wants, what I want, what we want together. So there's sort of this emergence of the pronoun we in that paradigm, where now you start looking at you and the girl as one instead of you versus the girl. Me and my need for sex versus her, whatever, needs or whatever. You see your needs and her needs as being something that can be nurtured together, right? And by the way, all of these paradigms are not in order, by the way. They're sort of scrambled together. So one paradigm is not superior to another. It's just like at different stages of your journey, you might encounter them. The next paradigm that you can do PUA from is the self-development paradigm. You go out there, and sort of the motto, you could say, if you could summarize it, is basically I go out because I want to become a more confident, more social, more capable person and be competent in dating. And that's a great place to come from, because then you go out and you sort of, you're willing to push your comfort zone, you're willing to try new things, you're willing to, improve yourself, become better men. And if you become a better man, that can only help yourself, but not only yourself, but that helps society to become a better man, doesn't it? Which leads me to the next paradigm, which is the mastery paradigm, where you want to learn PUA because you want to become a master of the craft. Sort of the motto could be, I want to master dating. I want to reach mastery and proficiency in dating, so that just for the beauty of it. And that's great because at this level, you have a much deeper attention to details. You sort of, for example, some of the great PUA coaches and out there, I think one of the best is Todd V Dating. He's a great guy, and he really is at this paradigm of, he wants to just master his craft, and he wants to help as many guys as he can master their craft too. And this fine tuning of the details is, it's great. It's great to learn, to be passionate about a craft, and to make it something worthwhile that you can teach others. So the next paradigm to be doing PUA from is the adventure paradigm, the creative paradigm, where you do things from an adventure and creative place. Basically with the intention of, I want to try new things in the world, I want to express myself and just see what is possible. I want to meet a variety of different women and see, what kind of women I connect with, what kind of women I don't connect with, and if I don't, then that'll be a fun adventure. And what's great about this approach is that it's very playful, it's very sort of lighthearted, and because you're lighthearted about it and you're creative about it, you're not sort of negative, right? You're not doing it from a place of I just want to get laid and I hate, that women reject me. This is sort of a really negative point of view. And if you're doing it from this sort of adventurous place, then you open yourself up to possibilities, and this open-mindedness can only open more possibilities for what is possible for you, for her, for your life, for your development, and you just open yourself up to possibilities, which is great, which could only be a positive thing. Another paradigm to be doing PUA from, which is what I'm doing, is you are the best friend paradigm, which basically I have experienced everything I wanted to experience in the PUA community, in dating, relationships, whatever, meeting the opposite sex. I experienced what I want to experience. Now I want to help my friends experience that as well. So this is when, me, for example, I go out and I have my girlfriend, so all I do is I help my friends to meet other women, when we're in that scenario. So for example, they want to talk to a group of women and they're too shy, and maybe, maybe I'll go in and say, hey, come meet my friends or something like that. Also, I'll be sort of the wingman, you could call it, and the person that will help transition my friends into meeting more girls. And it's funny, but in my friend group, they say that, I'm the guy who helped everyone meet a girl. Like, all of my friends, they met some girl they went on a date with or, got intimate with because of me. So I'm like the ultimate wingman of my friend circle. And I really feel proud of that title, by the way. And that's maybe something you can aspire to once you've reached a level where, you're satisfied in your relationships. And the final paradigm to be doing PUA from is very advanced, right? It's very advanced, and I think some people might not relate to me on this level, and probably most people won't, but if you followed this video to this point, I'm sure you must be interested in what I have to say in this domain, at least, right? And this is, you reach this paradigm after you have your materialistic needs met, after you have your self-esteem and confidence needs met. You feel confident, you feel capable, you feel like you've met sort of your sexual needs, love needs, and all that. Then you reach a new level in game where now this is what I call the God consciousness / holistic / non-dual paradigm, where really you're doing PUA from a place of wanting to connect with God. And now that sounds strange, doesn't it? But me, I've had certain glimpses in my journey in PUA where basically you interacting with another person or interacting with a woman, and in that case for me, interacting with my girlfriend, I've had certain periods when I was spending with her, before we were in a relationship, leading to a relationship, where I could look into her eyes and I saw, it's strange to explain, but it's like I saw my connection with God. I saw her in me, and I knew that she saw herself in me. And it was this sort of connectedness with the rest of the universe that things just fall into place, and me doing PUA is just this expression of who I am, this expression of me wanting to connect with this higher power. And that might sound a bit strange, and I understand how that sounds strange, but the same way that, for example, when I went to music festivals and I shot all these videos and I was just being a foolish PUA, doing stupid stuff, and then I remember in the middle of, me having fun in those festivals, I would just, all of a sudden, time would slow down, time would dilate, and I would just listen to the music. When I did listen to the music, I listened to how the music sounded so well, and I looked at the whole crowd and everybody dancing to the music, and some of the people I've talked to and how connected we all felt to the music. And it's like the music was just an expression of the people, and the people were one with the music. And I remember looking at the people dancing and hearing the music, and I saw no difference between the music and the people. And sometimes, for example, I would, let's say, go on a date and like with my girlfriend, and before we became a relationship, and I just sort of felt this sort of glimpses of non-dual consciousness where I start feeling, for example, that I start feeling her breathing, and her breathing felt like my breathing, and there was just sort of this intimacy where you reach this level of togetherness and love that you wouldn't be able to access if you would have never discovered PUA. And it's just amazing. I don't know how else to explain it. And for those who will understand what I'm trying to explain, and if you know exactly what I'm talking about, then that's amazing. But for those of you who have no clue what I'm talking about, I understand. But this is, I think, the highest level that one could aspire to in PUA, where now you do it just because it's like what nature and God wanted you to do, in a sense that you interact with other human beings just because it's an expression of God. In a sense, an expression of reality itself. And it's just you being with reality. It's you being present at the moment. It's you embracing the now. And It's interesting because in PUA they talk to you about, oh yeah, you should do meditation so that you're more present and then you're less nervous and you can bang more girls, which is stupid. But it makes sense in this scenario if you can transcend sort of the materialistic need as to why meditation would help you meet more girls, and you just embrace meditation as sort of the act itself of just meditating. The same way that in Zen they have this saying that Zen is just Zen, right? This is Zen. My hand is Zen. This mask is Zen. The air that we breathe is Zen. In the same way, game is Zen. PUA is Zen. And can you practice Zen while you do pickup? Yes, you can. And that is the ultimate paradigm you can inspire. And now, the point of me explaining you all of these paradigms, right? The materialistic, relational, self-development, whatever, mastery paradigm, all these paradigms, what's the point of it? The point is that I want you to see that PUA can be done from different levels, different viewpoints, and therefore, if society were to be more understanding of that, then they would understand that PUAs could rise to a higher level, and that it can be done from a good place. You don't have to override the entire community because you've seen a few guys do it from the wrong paradigm. Now you follow me all the way to the end of the video with nearing the end now. I know it's a long video, but so now that you know why PUA is beneficial for you, why it's a good thing, it could potentially help you meet the woman of your dreams and all that, and now you know how to do it from a morally ethical place and how to do it from a higher perspective. How do you actually learn the thing? Well, to learn PUA, first you have to seek out the best coaches, right? And there are many coaches out there, and yes, even if you learn from a wrong coach, you can always, jump and a different coach and learn from someone else. But they're pretty decent coaches. Well, in my time when I was doing it, there was RSD, which is, I don't know how they are now, but around 2015, like before the Julian Blanc scandal, right? If you know what that is, that was pretty good time that was sort of their prime, in my opinion. So when they released the Blueprint Decoded, Foundations, those are great products you can learn from if you're a beginner at PUA. Those are things you can look at. There's also Todd V that I've talked about. He's phenomenal. Honestly, I think he's probably one of the best coaches out there in the market today. He's incredibly systematic in his thinking, incredibly logical, incredibly smart. One of the smartest PUAs I've ever learned about is Todd V Dating. Todd V Dating, if you learn from him also, is pretty good. I've heard of other different coaches like Valentino Cohen, which is apparently incredibly skillful, incredibly good at game. And there's also Alex Social, with his product, the 4-Week Natural, that he's also pretty good apparently. So then after you learn the right tools and techniques, then you have to get started. So you have to just go out there, go out at night and whatever, and you have to start approaching. You have to start being social with other people. And my advice to you is get through the beginner stage as soon as you can, right? It's what we like to call the pain period, where basically you stumble around and you bang your head against the wall and you get rejected, you do stupid shit, you mess up the date and whatever, you spill the drink on her by accident, whatever. I exaggerate here, but you want to get this phase out of the way fast so that you can move to the next stage and start developing skill and proficiency. And then, just get your basic understanding of different types of games. So, day game, night game, dance floor game, whatever game. And you just realize that there's different ways to go about PUA, different styles. And which brings me to my next point, which is to find your style of game when you become more intermediate. So you find, what kind of coaches you resonate with, what kind of coaches you don't really resonate with, right? Because there are different types of coaches. You want to find the appropriate coach that fits your needs. All right, maybe I'm your coach. If I'm your coach, then you can sign up to my PUA training in the link below if you think that's cool. If you like festivals, you like music, you like dance floor, check out my course, whatever, if you want. So yeah, you want to find a coach that is suitable. Hey, Google, stop. So you want to find a coach that is suitable to your needs and suitable to your style. Are you high energy? Are you low energy? Do you prefer the really bubbly, energetic sort of approach to game, or are you more like sort of a laid back, chill, sort of relaxed person? You might want to find a coach that is more aligned to that. For example, James Marshall, I don't know if he still does game, but back in the day, he was one of the most relaxed and chilled out PUAs ever. And he was so chill, he barely, he almost boring, but he wasn't boring. He was just very mysterious. And he's also Sasha Day Game, that is incredibly bubbly. Like, he's a stand-up comedian. He does like crazy shit and almost weird. And hey, it works for him. So you can sort of pinpoint your style there. When you become intermediate, start bringing more individuality in your sort of self-expression. And now, after you've discovered your sort of style of game, you've tailored your style of game, you sort of know what it is, then you get to a more advanced level where now you can really start improvising, I like to say. It's because, you've integrated all the sort of methodologies and sort of the tactics and the fundamentals of PUA and game. Now you're free to sort of, I guess, invent your own rules or bend the rules of PUA. Now you can be a bit more expressive. You can maybe create a new style of game, or, you get in a sense, when you reach a more advanced level, you reach what is called unconscious competence. And this is really what I hope for most of you guys who are in the community, where, you know how to meet and attract women naturally. You don't even need to think. And, when I went on the first date with my girlfriend, it was just sort of this effortless process. I wasn't thinking into like, oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? What can I do? What sort of tricks or whatever can I use? I didn't have any of that in mind, because it's not even a sort of tool and tactic that I was using. It's just like, it was part of me now. I was a confident, attractive man. And when you reach that point where there's nothing else you need to do in order to attract somebody else or meet somebody else for that matter. So hopefully you can reach that point in your journey. And also, to learn PUA after, in this process of you becoming more advanced, and from beginner to advanced, really, you want to play to your strengths. What I like to say is, whatever you're best at. Me, I was always good at sort of connecting. I had this issue with like sort of talking to big groups of people, or like being in the life of the party, being extroverted. That was kind of hard for me. So me playing to my strengths is like, let's say, having those one-on-one conversations. So I sort of tailored my style to that, right? Having one-on-one conversations, sitting down at a cafe and just talking and just hanging out, chilling one-on-one. That was sort of my strength. Not only that, but you also want to be working on your weaknesses. So it's play to your strength, work on your weaknesses. And your weaknesses, for example, if you are, really shy, you struggle in, let's say you have a lot of anxiety when it comes to the approach, then, you focus on that. If you're really anxious, or if you have a lot of trouble, let's say with, getting intimate, then you focus on that. Like, for example, one of my friends, he goes on dates with girls, and he really wants to get intimate, but he's unable to escalate things further to get more intimate with a girl, and it's his huge weakness. But if he worked on that, then maybe he'd have a better chance at meeting the woman that he wants. And as you do game, really, throughout your journey, you will have different epiphanies, different realizations. And my advice to you is try to derive your own principles, sort of your own epiphanies of game as you learn on this game journey. So for example, me, I learned that, a woman will respect you more for saying no, even if it means terminating the relationship, than saying yes just to sort of get your way, or just to please her. And this is a very powerful concept, because that's not even about game, right? So that's not even about game. It's just about self-respect, about respecting yourself, about, wanting to grow yourself and wanting to have boundaries as a person. And while saying no to that particular person may not get you the sort of materialistic result of getting sex, in the long term, saying no to that girl because, you didn't want to sleep with her, whatever, will make it more likely that you'll meet the next girl, and you'll have, maybe you'll meet the girl of your dreams in your next interaction, who knows, or whatever. It sounds paradoxical, like, well, how could saying no to a girl help you in the next interaction? Well, it's just a matter of principle. And just by living in accordance to your principles as a man and your values as a man, saying no when you mean to, saying yes only when you truly mean to, having strong boundaries, that will grow you as a person, so that eventually when you're ready to meet the woman of your dreams, she will be there and you will be ready to meet her. And that's crazy because, if I didn't go through my whole PUA journey, if I would have encountered my future girlfriend in the metro that day, without all the PUA journey that I had, I probably would have never had the courage to talk to her. I would have never had a date probably, because I would have never had the courage to, text her back and forth and, believe that it would work. I would have probably gave up in the middle of the texting. I would have given up even before I approach her. Yeah, so now you know how to learn PUA sort of broad strokes. You know who to reach out to, who to talk to, what kind of coaches to learn from, what kind of style of game you want to develop. Okay. Now there are certain difficulties when it comes to learning because one, the information is really hard to find, like the good information when it comes to PUA, because so unfortunately there's a lot of misinformation in the PUA community, and some guys are just trying to sell you stuff, or sometimes the guy just doesn't know any better. So for example, in the PUA forum, you see a guy that will do a very sort of articulate post onto how to meet and attract women, but you don't know if this guy is actually full of shit or not. That's kind of the difficulty of it. And I think at the beginning it's mostly going to be trial and error, sort of try to discern from the good and the bad information, sort of the marketing aspect of it and the real aspect of it. I've told you a few coaches that I think you can trust, right? But you still have to use your own instinct, because sometimes they don't work or are not suitable for everyone. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. And so once you discern the right information, you still have to go out in the field and, take action. And the difficulty with PUA is that it really gives you inconsistent feedback. So kind of like poker. The analogy to poker is that you can have the best hand in poker and still lose, or you can have the worst hand in poker and still win. So same with game is sometimes you'll go out, you were your best, you put your best self out there. You were styled, you were groomed, you look your best, you dress the best, and you were really confident, feeling great that day. You approach a woman and she slams a drink in your face. That might happen. Or a specific day where you're not exactly feeling like it, you're feeling a bit nervous, you're not feeling on top of the world. And then, you see a beautiful girl in the metro, you talk to her, and it just happens you go on a date with her, and she becomes your girlfriend, which is what happened to me. So you don't know. And you have to sort of, with the inconsistent feedback that you get on your journey, you have to look at, you have to sort of draw a sort of parallel or sort of a line, like sort of to track your progression. And you just an imaginary, you don't have to do a graph on paper, that would be just crazy to do, but just sort of hypothetically, just imagine this sort of graph in your head that like, okay, I've had negative interactions but a few positive ones, so I can conclude that the trend is positive overall, for example. So it's just be aware of that on your journey. Now we get to the next point, which is, let's say you've learned PUA. Let's say you become the best man you can be in terms of attraction, dating, and all that. When do you let go of it? When is it time to move on to something better? Maybe work on your career, or let go of PUA. And there's no clear-cut answer for everyone, but I would say you want to let go of PUA when you've learned everything you needed to learn from PUA, and there's no longer anything else for you to learn. Which was the case for me, actually. When you've experienced all the things you wanted to experience, you had all the validation you wanted, and you know exactly what kind of woman you want in your life, that's probably a good time to stop. Or when you find a partner, your life partner, which is the case for me. So when you realize that, then there's no point in continuing on this journey, really. What if all of this PUA stuff that you've been talking about, what if it's just a scam? What if it doesn't work? What if everything you're talking about is just propaganda to sell your PUA product that you have in your description, right? You have a PUA product, you're just doing a video to defend PUA so that people will buy your product, right? And what if it's a scam? Well, to respond to that, usual black pill incel argument that they say that PUA doesn't work, it does work. And if you don't believe it, then just listen to all the countless success stories. And okay, maybe you think that they're fake, maybe you see those stories on the internet, and because you've never seen these guys in person, you can't tell if it's true or not, but I can tell you that PUA works, and it's true. And it works because I am the embodiment of one of these success stories, because I found, the woman of my dreams. And even some of my friends, they met, amazing women, they went on dates, and some of them even had girlfriends at a certain point. And I've seen the success around this community and guys who were really happy with the result. Therefore, it's wrong to assume that it doesn't work, because it does work. And if it didn't work, the PUA industry wouldn't still exist. If it didn't work, I think this industry would have been exposed years ago. It's been alive for over 20 years now, I believe, right? Maybe 30 years even. And for that reason, I don't think that PUA is going away anytime soon. Even if it were to become illegal, or society were trying to impose PUA to be illegal, which is completely absurd, dating, relationships, sex, and all that, you can't really say that it's forbidden, because then, it's just a sort of a natural process of men and women meeting. And if you're saying that PUA is a scam, what you're saying is that learning to meet, attract, and seduce women, that cannot be taught, that cannot be learned. There's nothing you can do to improve in that area. Basically, if you say that PUA is a scam, you're saying that it's impossible for men to learn how to flirt. It's impossible for men to learn how to interact with a woman on an intimate level. You're saying that it's impossible for men to get better with women, to become more confident, that it's impossible for a man to, just know how to talk to a girl. And can you realize how absurd that assumption is? You're saying that a guy that doesn't know how to talk, basically cannot learn how to talk to a woman, right? It makes absolutely no sense to me. And yes, okay, there's certain arguments that say like, okay, well, it's all about your looks, it's all about this and that. I made a video on the black pill and incel communities are toxic and borderline cult-like. You can watch this video if you want more arguments against that. I'm not going to elaborate on that in this video, but just to let you know, it is not a scam and it does work. And you don't have to buy my freaking products. If you don't want my products, don't buy them. Buy from somebody else. I don't care. I just want to make the point clear. But just to summarize quickly why it's not only looks is because, well, just in my experience in life is I've seen in my PUA journey that there was this really linear progression to my progress, really. It's really, well, with some peaks and valleys. It's not a perfect line, but I see that the more that I practice my social skills, the more that I perfect my game, the better results that I got, the more friends that I got, the more acquaintance I met, the more, better people I met overall. And, women were more friendly with me, more accepting of me, they want to meet me and all that. So there was this progression, and it would be wrong to assume that it's all based on looks, in my opinion, because my looks throughout the years have remained pretty much constant. My face is not really going to change. In 4 to 5 years, I'm going to have the same face. Sorry to say. I'm not going to magically have a square cut jaw tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So if my looks remained consistent throughout the years, but my game was improving, and along with my game, also the results that were going were improving, I don't think it's wrong to assume that game kind of works, does it? Now you could say, well, correlation isn't necessarily causation, it could have been anything else. I doubt it. I strongly doubt it because, I'm not the only experience of that. There's other experiences of other guys who who have had this progression. So I don't think it can only be based on looks. Well, if it does work, right? If PUA does work, why does it seem not to work for so many? Why are there all these cringe videos on YouTube of guys failing to pick up, of, you know, I don't know, this cringe stuff? Why does it happen? Because PUA ultimately is incredibly difficult to learn. And, you know, for many women who don't have empathy for PUAs, they probably don't understand that. They don't understand how hard it is to actually do. And women underestimate how scary it is to talk to them. I mean, if I told you, ladies, hey, go talk to this attractive guy, like, I don't know, this, you see a celebrity, I don't know, you see a celebrity that, you know, are really popular, I'm telling you, hey, go talk to this celebrity, ask for their number, and go on a date with them, okay? You'd be scared, incredibly scared. Imagine these guys in the PUA community that face this fear every single time that they want to work on their social skills. And because it's incredibly difficult, very few guys actually reach the pinnacle of success in that area. And most guys will give up because they think it's too hard. So that's why a majority, it might seem like it doesn't work just by virtue that most people quit. Well, it's not because people quit and because it's difficult that it doesn't work. Something can still be difficult and fundamentally can still work. It's just the amount of people who stick it to the long term is low. And it does work for these few who stick to it. But I would really guarantee that if these guys got proper coaching, had the right attitude, had the right surroundings, that they could all succeed in that area only if they had the right sort of guidance and teaching, and if they had the right mental attitude. But that is quite rare to find, unfortunately. But it's not because it's rare that it's impossible. So PUA, my suggestion is that you sort of, if you want to get serious about PUA, get into it. Don't care about what society thinks or says because their opinion is wrong. Do what you believe is true to your heart, what will be best for you and your personal development and your own happiness. And stick to it at least for a few months to a few years. That's what I recommend. And get that phase out of the way, as I've said, so that you can move on to greater and greater things. So PUA could be a stepping stone to you handling your dating relationship needs so that you can transcend these needs and start looking into contributing to the world, helping the world, and sort of by fulfilling your selfish desires, only then will you be able to become selfless. Yeah, so in conclusion to this massive video, I believe society needs more pickup artists, needs more PUAs, or if you don't like the word pickup artist, just say society needs more men who work on their dating skills. Okay, you could put that in a huge parentheses. And they need more of these men because then society would become a better, more conscious, more happy, more loving place. And I understand how PUA is such a really hard to grasp concept with like many nuances and like many guys that do it the right way but also the wrong way, and because of the wrong ways you have this negative picture of what it is. I really hope that this video helped you clear out some of the misconceptions you might have had and really help you see past the superficial external layer that you might see on the media or on YouTube, and really see PUA for what it is and what it can become. Because yes, I've told you about what PUA is, but really I've also alluded to what it could become if as a society, if we can work towards making PUA a more holistic, more integral thing and more conscious thing, then really we could help to not only integrate certain shadow aspects of individual men, but also the shadow of the collective consciousness of society when it pertains to dating, sex, and relationships. And that would be a massive leap in human consciousness. If we could heal the shadow of sort of the taboo of sex and dating in society at a collective level, imagine what kind of doors that would open up. That would be sort of like a psychoanalytical, psychotherapeutic revolution, really, in a sense, because then we would open up sort of shadow elements of society and sort of integrate them in a more healthy way. And what I suggest is that a healthy integration of society's shadow would be PUA at a highly conscious level, right? Imagine that where a society where PUA is seen as something that is acceptable, something that is okay, and something that makes sense when it's done right. Imagine where dating can be done from an ethical, morally acceptable place where, you know, you're not, where there's no shaming, no judgment around these. And yes, the crazy fringe cases, you put them in prison, you put them in institutions, mental institutions, but for the rest, you have a more sort of open-minded approach to things, then that could only make for a better society. And in this video, I've outlined of all the ways that you can morally develop yourself, you know, through these 3 stages of moral development, so that you can do PUA from a more healthy, more moral place, so that really, from this approach that I outlined in this video, there's really no reason why a PUA would end up raping someone if they follow everything I've said in this video, right? There will be no assault, there will be none of that. If you learn all that I learned in this video and you apply it, then, and if every PUA watched this video and applied everything that I said, there's no reason why society would end up worse off because of PUA. Only thing it could do is it could become better off because of PUA. And I understand all the controversy that this video may create, and I know that probably 80% of the comments below are going to be from people that didn't watch the whole video or only watched a segment of it and decided that it was too long, disagreed, and they left a hate comment because they don't have the patience and open-mindedness to listen to the whole video. I understand, right? So I'm going to get these comments of people who disagree. I'm going to try my best to address them, and I'm going to try my best to say what I think and try to help you and sort of, you know, open up the discussion. But any sort of comments that are just personal attacks or ad hominems, like just saying, oh, you're wearing a mask, so you can't talk about honesty, or you can't talk about this stuff, it's really juvenile, and these comments probably going to be deleted. If you just personally attack me without substance, there's no reason for me to reply to your comment. But if you have constructive comments you want to add to the discussion, maybe you want to help me find, if you disagree that PUA is a good way for men to learn dating and relationships, you have a better institution, you have a better solution to help those men that are struggling in that area, right? I want to hear from everyone, men, women, whatever gender you are. Just this is probably the longest video I've ever made, and rightfully so, because this is a topic really dear to my heart, and I wouldn't be here without PUA. And keep in mind that these videos, the next videos I'm going to release on this channel are going to be just as complex, hopefully, or even more complex. And I want the complexity of the content that I teach to increase. The more that I learn, the more that I grow myself. And, you know, I want to have a more holistic perspective on things. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments and all that. And if you enjoyed this video about why society needs more pickup artists in society, you're gonna love this next video here. So I'll see you there. So, you know, about a few years ago, I stumbled upon PUA. That, you know, the first thing I looked at on the internet was like how to find a girl, or like how to be more confident, that type of thing, when I was younger.